Hi, this is Regina Davis, NAWC's Director of Communications. And on May 11th and 12th, the National Association of Water Companies, that's NAWC, and NARUC's Committee on Water are co-sponsoring a very unique event, the State of Water Workshop, ensuring safe, reliable, and affordable water during the pandemic and beyond. And joining us today to discuss this event, we have the NARUC Water Committee Chair and Illinois Commissioner Maria Bocanegra, NAWC General Counsel April Ballou, and Quarles and Brady Regulatory Attorney Gerardo Delgado. Thank you all for joining us today and welcome. We're so glad that we could take the time to discuss this important event. Commissioner Bocanegra, I'd like to start with you first. Can you tell me and the NARUC community about the upcoming State of Water event and what your goal is in hosting it?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you to NARUC for this opportunity to share this event with all of you. What I can say is that this is the first of its kind interactive workshop that I think the Water Committee is doing in partnership with NAWC. And so I think what folks can expect to see is the first 2 days of the workshop. We're going to have an engaging, kind of more traditional style panels focusing on the factors and challenges in addressing this concept of affordability. As I said before, there's really been no silver bullet, obviously, or one answer for how policymakers, regulators, utilities, or organizations help tackle these issues. But that's what we're there to explore. And then so day 2, we're going to take an actually deeper dive with what we're calling a speaker challenge. You will hear from the Honorable Leah Marquez Peterson. She's the chair of the Arizona Corporation Commission, as well as my co-vice chair for the Water Committee, Stephen Lubertozzi. He's a senior vice president for the Quarles Group and president of Utility Services of Illinois, Inc. And last but not least, you'll also hear from Scott Berry. He's the Director of Policy and Government Affairs over at the U.S. Alliance. Each of them in 8 minutes and 5 slides get to quote, pitch a solution for one actionable item that could effectively help customers struggling to pay water and wastewater bills. They've been told to answer precisely the following question, Regina. The most pressing action item to help such customers is X, and then that is where our speakers will be challenged to come up with that solution. And so after each presentation, everybody's going to go into virtual breakout rooms, which the committee has leveraged before in past NARUC sessions. All attendees are going to interact with one another in these intimate settings, and they're going to vote in live time or prioritize which of these solutions they would tackle first and why. And after that, everybody's going to regroup and have a discussion. So far, what I can say, we've had an amazing planning team collaborate on bringing different perspectives from across the industry and across the country, really. And so we are really excited about it.
Wow, that sounds great. Now, let's step back for a minute, because when people normally think of public utility commissions, the 3 legs are safety, reliability, and reasonable rates. So naturally, part of establishing reasonable rates is ensuring, of course, that they are affordable. So what led you to this decision to focus on the affordability piece for this event?
That's interesting. What I will say, affordability, as you correctly noted, it's certainly something that is not a mandate per se of our commission's mission statement, nor is it anything that you're going to find in a statute. But what we are seeing, especially since COVID, the concept, the topic, the idea of affordability is certainly something that has been, I guess, what you would call trending. And so it's certainly something that the committee finds important. I know NAWC is extremely focused on it, as well well as Gerardo's team. And so, but what I want to talk about is just the regulator's perspective. Obviously we are all tasked with balancing access for all customers and ratepayers to reliable water, along with a reasonable rate of return for our regulated utilities. And affordability, as we know, is an incredibly subjective concept and term. Affordable for whom and determined by whom? That's really the purpose of this discussion. And I think within the paradigm of determining what is affordable, we have to take into consideration outside forces at play. Of course, the last year and few months now has taught us that the baseline for affordability can drastically change depending upon who you're talking to, and it can be changed by various inputs, depending upon who you're also talking to. But I will say, we also count on our utilities to provide us clean and safe water, which also counts on their ability to maintain their systems as necessary. Like the whole energy economy, I think that water technology is rapidly developing, and like anything, this bears a large cost to these companies. And so I think your question, Regina, answers the prompt itself. Affordable and reasonable perhaps may never entirely be synonymous. However, I think it leaves my role to bring these 2 points of the spectrum really into equilibrium, where neither our ratepayers nor our utilities feel ill-equipped.
Okay, so this leads me to my next question, because this event was originally, I believe you were going to mirror NARUC's poverty simulation from a couple of years ago. So how and why did you decide to sort of retool it and move away from that format?
Yeah, we've all really learned to obviously adapt and get creative in an entirely virtual work environment. But I think the value of person-to-person engagement and dialogue is really intrinsic to the success of the poverty simulation that NARUC hosted a couple of years back. But after numerous conversations with NAWC and of course my co-collaborator Gerardo, as well as my team and a host of other folks, it became very obvious that the poverty simulation is too valuable to shift to something like that to remote. So I would rather hold off another 6+ months where we can all safely be in a room and extract everything from a simulation like that. But with that said, I think that the conversations we are hoping to curate on May 11th and May 12th over this 2-day program, I think it's really going to lay the foundation for a potential future water affordability or a state of water simulation at a future NARUC summit. Great.
So April, first, I really want to thank NAWC for its ongoing support of NARUC and our mission, our programs, and our desire to help educate our members and the broader regulatory community. Thank you for that ongoing support. And to that end, can you talk about NAWC's role in the event and how water customers have fared during the pandemic?
Sure, yeah, and thank you again for this opportunity. And we are really excited to be hosting this event with Commissioner Bocanegra. Affordability is a topic that we are very focused on at NAWC. And as Commissioner Bocanegra said, it's really a 3-legged stool of making sure water is safe, reliable, and affordable. But the COVID-19 pandemic has really brought a spotlight on the affordability issue. And I think a lot of customers across the board and people in general are struggling to pay their utility bills. And this is something that our members really care about, and we want to help address this issue and be a part of the solution. And we're really trying to use all the tools in our toolbox to address the issue and help customers with customer assistance programs and by instituting the moratoria on shutoffs right after the pandemic. But this is a complex problem, and we'd like to really achieve long-term solutions. So I think that requires a dialogue with all stakeholders to brainstorm about some real long-term solutions. And that's our goal in this event, is to really work together and hopefully come up with some ideas to address this issue for the long term.
So thinking about your members for a minute, how do you think your members will respond to the goals as set forth? Now, issues surrounding safe drinking water often make the headlines, but thinking about affordability, is that as much a priority as safety and reliability?
Yes, I would say it really is. As I said, at NAWC, we're really trying to focus on water equity, which we believe involves all three: safety, reliability, and affordability. And you really can't have one without the other. And utilities are constantly engaging in this balancing act of making sure that our systems are reliable and that we invest in them, making sure the water is treated and safe, but also making sure our customers have access to the water and can afford it. And we're very lucky to work with the NARUC community because they help us engage in that balancing act. And so I think having this dialogue and making sure we're all on the same page and talking about these issues is very important. And our members are certainly very interested and excited to be involved in this.
That's great to hear. So, Gerardo, let me ask you, from a policy perspective, do you think that the new federal low-income household water assistance program, similar to LIHEAP, will adequately help customers who are struggling to pay their water bills? Or do you think that we need some other creative solutions to fully address this issue?
Regina, thank you for that question. And also I'd like to echo, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So in addition to my regulatory roles as an attorney at Quarles, I'll also put on my former hat as a legal and policy advisor at the Illinois Commerce Commission. I'd like to commend the establishment of a federal payment assistance program. I believe many in the industry would agree that such a program was overdue. Now, this federal assistance program is adequately positioned to help customers that are struggling to pay their water utility bills. The program is being designed utilizing the best practices and lessons learned from the electric and gas equivalent LIHEAP in order to maximize benefits to communities in need. Also, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is actively engaged with stakeholders on the development and rollout of this federal program. So I look forward to observing, as well as others, the benefits of the program and its full potential. Now, regarding your question on whether there's a need for other solutions in addressing affordability of utilities, my short answer is yes. The financial challenges that water utility customers face and the circumstances impacting their struggle, although some factors stay the same, do vary as a result of unanticipated change of circumstances. For instance, the pandemic this last year, right? Or even new learnings that technology is now affording. So my experience at the Public Utility Commission and now in private practice has taught me that when addressing the need of struggling utility customers, it's not the responsibility of one entity, such as the utility. Instead, branches of government, local and federal, as well as private ancillary service providers, in addition to utilities, should work together to evaluate this issue and collectively and strategically design and implement solutions. And yes, it does require thinking creatively because it involves thinking outside the box to ensure all potential and practical solutions are considered.
Great, and we know that we can anticipate some out-of-the-box thinking over the course of the 2 days of this workshop. So we've been talking about customers who've been struggling. Can you describe the ways in which these customers have been struggling?
Well, the workshop is starting on day one by examining how customers struggle. So we know there are customers that are not paying their bills, and we know there are common, but also varying factors contributing to this. So the workshop is designed to explore these factors, as Commissioner Bocanegra stated, on affordability, as well as the nuances and trends that are more visible now. So by establishing this baseline, goals and steps to achieving goals are better measured. The segment that I will facilitate on day two will leverage these learnings, as well as ongoing efforts being implemented across the country to focus on 3 specific solutions presented by 3 different perspectives on assisting struggling utility customers. So in addition to the deeper dive of solutions, attendees will work together in breakout groups to prioritize these solutions and highlight additional learnings to consider. It should be a spirited and thought-provoking experience, so I'm looking forward to it.
So, and this question is open to any and everyone. You all are hoping to conclude with some action items. How can you ensure that some meaningful solutions will stem from these action items?
Regina, this is Maria. I'll take a stab at that first. What I can say is, no pressure to all of us who have spent the last, I don't know how many months planning this, but I think that really is our responsibility, when we conclude this workshop. And I think, one of the conversations we've all had amongst one another is how can we leverage the momentum that clearly is going to develop as a result of that conversation. And we know that with the time constraint, we certainly can't mandate that the participants actually implement the solutions that are pitched, but there is certainly, like you said, room for continued action. And I think we all understand that responsibility and understand that this is really an opportunity that really shouldn't be missed by the committee, by lawyers like Gerardo, and of course NAWC. And so I think that we're very aware of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that might develop after the workshop.
Hey, Regina, I'll add to that. I mean, kudos to Commissioner Bocanegra's leadership and the commitment and sponsorship of NAWC for collaboration, right? I mean, oftentimes in these proceedings or circumstances, we tend to be a little bit more siloed, where it's really confined to the same usual players. But I think what we see here through this experience and this workshop, building synergies is essential in order to expand the breadth of viewpoints, to ensure we have meaningful solutions, right? So that we don't recreate the wheel. So by expanding, again, the sphere of influence and contributors, we could collectively achieve a common goal.
I would agree with everything that everybody else said, and just add that we're going to be encouraging attendees to also take back their learnings and things that we discuss and hopefully implement them in their home states or their wherever they are going back to, and these learnings could be relevant. So we're definitely going to emphasize that as well.
So do you intend to continue these conversations at the NARUC Policy Summit this summer?
I would certainly like to do that, but I'll leave it to Commissioner Bocanegra.
I'd love to do that. I think that, part of the reason, initially Gerardo and I had come together and we've been wanting to do this State of Water series of some kind. And so I say series is plural. So I agree with April that kind of is a hint right there. But I think that, it would be a real disservice to the work that NARUC does and the work that the committee has done these last few months. It was not that long ago that Commissioner Holden from New Jersey was the chief sponsor for essentially the water LIHEAP equivalent that the committee brought forth to NARUC. And so in my opinion, as chair of the committee, I would be remiss if I simply kind of shelved that and did nothing with that. And so I think that this is sort of the second step in follow-up to that. And obviously now with the Biden administration right behind backing things like additional federal funding and with NAWC support, I certainly see momentum for perhaps the July summit.
Okay, so we know that there will probably be some individuals who aren't able to participate in the workshop, but really want to become better educated and want to do their part and be a part of the solution. So what can they do and what should they do?
Well, I could say that NAWC is in the process of launching a water equity initiative, and we will be creating a page on our website with resources on this issue. And so I would encourage anyone who's interested for follow-up to go to our website and read more and learn more about it. And of course, attending the Summer Policy Summit, if we're picking it up there, would be a great opportunity.
Thanks for that pitch, and thanks for that scoop on what's coming down the road with NAWC. Gerardo, do you want to add something? I
do. I want to give maybe a tip that's a little maybe simplistic, but I think essential that we all have to remember. Go visit the website of your local water utility or local utility period. I mean, this is an issue that impacts everybody that I believe all industry participants, value and is important to them. So I think the utilities have done a great job, and I will, a big shout out to the Illinois utilities who have been really committed to addressing this issue and have provided great resources to their customers online and through other methods to get that messaging across, to ensure what resources are available and just inform their customers and everyone in the industry on what's happening and what needs to happen.
Okay.
And if I may, I also want to add to piggyback off what April and Gerardo just mentioned. I think visiting the websites and visiting their utilities. Also, what I can say is a regulator on my part, I've even invited some of our local City of Chicago elected officials to participate in the workshop because, we all recognize, even though they're not regulated, they probably have an entire differently set of laws and systems and rules in place. I recognize that perhaps they're saying, they're doing things that they might want to share with the group at the workshop. Likewise, maybe there's something that I can learn that I'm not thinking of as a regulator. And so I bring that up because, if some of those elected officials or non-regulated folks are not able to attend the workshop, I do feel, as a public servant, it is my duty to try and cross collaborate where possible. And so we've tried to make that a point in the planning process here.
Okay, thank you all for those comments. So Commissioner Bocanegra, I have another question for you, and it's one that you may have heard before. So should regulators be pushing for more accountability or engage in dialogues or both?
Well, I mean, I have to temper the response with, I think it depends on what accountability we're talking about. I think that, first and foremost, the accountability lies with us. It is our job to dispense with, the missions of each of our respective public utilities commissions. But I also do think part of that responsibility means being able and willing to think outside the box, being able to cross collaborate without any I suppose, fear of whatever, because these are all issues that are clearly important. Just judging by the folks who have taken the time to come join us for this 2-day workshop, all the speakers, all the backgrounds, we're all on the same page. And so that's all I would add about that. I think it's everybody's responsibility.
Great. And I'm going to allow each of you any final thoughts that you'd like to share.
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity, and we encourage everyone to attend the workshop. We think it will be a great event, and we're looking forward to great collaboration with all different stakeholders.
I agree. This will be a unique format in order to really kind of actively facilitate change and awareness on a very important topic that we're all facing every day.
Yeah, and Regina, I'll just add to that, I think that even if there's people out there looking at this that maybe they don't regulate water in their commissions, or maybe they don't work on water and they work on other committees, a lot of the same issues that permeate, the water sector, clearly, in my opinion, permeate the gas sector and the electric sector. And so I would encourage those folks who maybe aren't thinking outside that box to come to the workshop, check it out. And, there's always an opportunity to learn from one another.
You make an excellent point. And I believe that our rate school started as just understanding the water industry, the water cases. So that's a good point that you make about how the other areas, the other sectors can probably walk away and learn a lot by attending the workshop. So in closing, thank you all so much for all that you bring to your respective areas. Thank you for participating today in this conversation. And we look forward to a very successful workshop, May 11th and 12th.
Thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you, NARUC. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.